Hello everyone, welcome to The Future Generation, a show that previews how our society will change tomorrow. Today we will just be talking about photography actually. As we all know, photography is an art that captures an image in a moment in time with an electronic device or a camera. Photography has evolved a lot since the 1800s. And today to discuss this topic, we have here a local renowned visual artist by the name of Singh. Singh, welcome to The Future Generation.
Thank you, Seth. It's a pleasure to be here. That's a very nice introduction. I like that a lot.
Well, thank you. It was written very well for me, actually, on the top prompter. But going back to the show we have right now, tell me, when you talk about photography, what is the difference between a photographer and a visual artist?
Well, the difference is not a lot. To put it simply, I'm a visual artist. Okay, I use photography, but I use other means to express myself. Photography for me is a means of talking to people who show up at galleries or look at my work, and it's just a one-way conversation, but their reaction is my response to what they are thinking from my photographs. A photographer is a bit more of a fine art person who takes pictures to put up at galleries and for art galleries and art collectors, not really for the common man or common person, not something that a person walking down the street would appreciate. It's just something, oh look, I'm a photographer, I do this, haha, and I have a glass of wine in my hand and I'm sipping it at an art gallery for rich people. Well, not rich people, but people who have money to spend.
Understood.
As a visual artist, I'm more of a down-to-earth person, or pompous, as you may say.
You said it, not me. You said it, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we know. So it's more of getting the people from the street into an art gallery to enjoy something.
Understood. Now, how do you become a visual artist? How did you get started this business? You take a class online, or did you go to a university get a degree? How do you become a visual artist? How did you get started in this business?
There's a very complicated answer for that. I don't have a degree at all. Well,
wow.
I don't have a degree in photography.
That easy?
It is that easy.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wow.
All you need is a small brain that works and knowledge of the equipment that you're using.
Okay.
See. So for me, I do have a degree in biology. I'm a biology major. I did it, and since 2009, I couldn't find a job that I wanted. And the best thing I knew how to do was photography, the second best. So a few friends of mine, we got together, we opened up a business, bought some equipment, and started doing, well, photography as advertising art. So that's why I don't like to call myself a photographer, because most photographers are people who do weddings, and they take thousands of pictures, and they spend days trying to find one picture. For me, it's the opposite. I take one or two pictures, and I'm done. Saves time, saves a lot of other things.
Understood.
Effort.
Now, who or what are your influences in photography, or in this case, visual artist?
It's varied across the spectrum. Primary influence is David LaChapelle, not the comedian.
Not the comedian.
Not
Okay.
the comedian.
That was my first thought. Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Not the comedian, but the photographer, David LaChapelle, who most famously hung up the phone on Madonna and made Britney Spears what she is today. But for David LaChapelle, his work at least was surrealistic. It resembles Dali photos, paintings of Dali and Goya. So for me, that was an inspiration to really use photography as a medium of expression and not something to make money. I never wanted to be a conventional photographer. I never wanted photography to be a business or a means for me to make money. That was an accident, a byproduct.
Okay.
The one person who really got me into photography and to really appreciate the business and who kind of made me believe in myself, I never met the guy, but is a chef called Ferran Adrià, who had a restaurant called El Bulli. It's now shut.
Okay.
But his one aim was that if you do what you do with passion and you appreciate and love what you're doing, people are going to come to you. You don't have to go after people. That's my philosophy. Because of the work that I do, the people who need to know about me, they know me in the industry. So when they come to me, I work with them. I don't go after customers looking for them, hey, please give me your job. So that's one reason I got into photography, that, hey, I can do this. It's possible for me to be, not to be famous, but to be relatively well known in the circuit that I want to be known in.
Understood. Now, do you actually make a living off this?
I do. It's quite a good living, actually.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you how I do it.
Pays the bills, apparently?
Oh yes, definitely. A lot more than paying bills.
We'll get more into that momentarily here. Let's take a quick break here. Back in 2 and 2 here with Singh, a local renowned visual artist here. Back with more, talking about visual artist and photography, difference between those two as well too. Be back very shortly.
There are many ways of wrapping production cables. Most of them are wrong.
To protect the cable and keep it from tangling, the accepted method in the video industry is the RCA wrap, commonly known as over-under. This is how you do it. Grab the cable for the length where you want to make your first loop. Bring your hands together. Now gently twist so that the cable forms a natural loop. This is over. After your first loop, reach down, palm of your hand away from your body, grab the next bit of cable, and bring your hands together, looping the cable under. Now reach down again and loop the cable over. Continue to alternate between over and under until your cable is fully coiled. If your cable is wrapped properly, you can uncoil the cable quickly with no loops, kinks, or tangles. It takes practice to master the over-under method, but when you do, you will make your facilities manager very happy.
If you want to learn more about this or other video production techniques, sign up for classes at Montgomery Community Media.
We're back here with Singh, a local renowned visual artist. Sorry, not photographer, visual artist as well
Yes,
too.
yeah, forgive you.
Now I read an article somewhere. I think they had a quote about you in there. It's something about if I could tell a story, why would I take a picture or something to that effect? Could you please explain that quote to me and what you meant by that?
Yeah, sure. It's, if I could say it with words, why would I take a picture?
Thank
That's
you.
basically my motto. That's how I do photography, or well, visual art, as we all know. It's basically whenever I try to have a conversation with a person, or an argument rather, it turns out that human psychology takes over, and instead of listening to what I have to say, the person starts thinking about what their next argument is going to be, what are they going to say next. Okay. So photographs for me become the medium where I can subconsciously take the matter, and with humorous and dark, well, funny looking things and creative processes all we go through, I can speak my mind, so to say, and I can actually have a one-way communication with a person who's looking at the photographs. So it's not really that I can't use words to say what I want to say, but I want to have a meaningful impact on the person who's looking at my work.
It's also, I'm assuming it's going to give you depth and emotion of the actual moment in time.
Exactly, exactly. It's more about me, the person feeling my emotions behind the argument, not just the argument.
Now, on that topic, we've already talked about what a visual artist is. Let's talk about equipment and technology. Sure. What do you use in your process, technology, equipment-wise, to get your job done, to do what you have to do?
I mean, I started off with a SLR camera, and it slowly, as I did research into projects and sort of in previous photographers, or ancient photographers as they should be called now, like Ansel Adams, Stieglitz, Steichen, and I found out about a view camera, which is the simplest form of a camera that ever exists. However, it is very complicated if you don't know how to use it. So it gives you a lot of control over perspective, over depth of field, over lines, and how to straighten things out, which you would spend hours in Photoshop doing. So I started utilizing the view camera, which is film-based camera, a 4x5 or 8x10 film. It's a huge transparencies. So you basically take a photograph which has a lot more detail than any CCD sensor which you have in digital cameras. And then you bring it into Photoshop and you do all the like cross-processing, selenium toning, all the effects which people used to do in dark rooms, which sometimes could also cause cancer. So now it's a very good amalgamation between the old world meeting new technology, where it's like, okay, so you have a view camera from the old world, which still is the same machine from the 1800s, right, with Photoshop.
So now, let me ask you a question. I mean, are we, today's society, with our Instagrams and with our selfies and our Facebook post, would you call us visual artists?
No, not at all.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, you have to get rid of this thing called a selfie, okay? Because that's just killing creativity. As a photographer, when we had to take a self-portrait, we used to go through hours of preparation and have the right equipment and like have a sit-in model to basically replace you when you were physically in the photograph. Now people walking around with an 8 megapixel camera in their phone, all they do is every 5 minutes snap a picture and post it on social media. So that really has to stop if photography and developments in photography have to progress to certain new heights, to give something new. Like the invention of the camera and film was a major invention in its time. So it was heralded as a life-changing invention. Nothing has happened ever since in the field of photography except Photoshop, which could be heralded with the same dignity and honor.
Understood. Now, talk about how things are going to change in the future as well too. How do you see visual artistry change in the future, technology-wise and product-wise as well too?
I mean, technology-wise, there's only one linear focus that every company has. It's to make a digital sensor that can capture as much detail as a human eye can see, which is a good thing because you do want to capture everything that we can see and reproduce it. The problem comes in the reproduction. We don't have a sensor yet. Once we make the sensor which is able to capture that much detail, you need to be able to reproduce that. Paper will not be able to do so. If it could, someone would have done it already. So you do need to get into that segment of innovation. That, for me, as a visual artist, doesn't do anything. Okay. It's already, we have what we have. It's enough to play with the mind of the viewer. Okay. Why do you need more detail? It's a good thing to have more detail, but do we really need it? So unless something comes out from a visual artist or an individual, not a photographer, someone who just bypasses all the rules. So a person who will be able to see at things differently, also technology, and probably be able to change it for the betterment of the future. So the way things are going right now, I mean, it's an illusion. Whatever we're thinking, the future, it may or may not happen. It may be useless.
Understood. So if I recall correctly, so what you're saying really is between a photographer and a visual artist is the visual artist is more about the content and the process, the passion, the actual content itself. Am I correct in that one?
To a certain respect, yes.
Okay.
Yes. For me, it's a little different. It's more about the emotions and the content. But yes, as a visual artist, visual artists are the people who don't really care much about the commercial aspects of fine art photography, and we don't call ourselves fine art photographers. Understood. We are just people who like taking pictures and speaking our mind through our photographs.
Now, what advice can you give us, the normal Joe and Jane out there, if we want to become visual artists? What should we do, or what kind of process should we adhere to be better visual artists in the future for us?
As I said, stop taking selfies. That's the first thing.
Number one.
Second thing is you need knowledge. You need to have knowledge about what you're doing. You may or may not use it ever in the future, but still, it's good to know about the past, about the people who were there before you, and the reason why photography exists today. Most people don't even know about the history of photography or how it started, and they start taking pictures at weddings, and they're like, oh, I'm a photographer. No, you're not. You don't know anything. You just push a button, and you're good at selling yourself. That's about it. So as people, you do, a little bit of understanding and moving away from social media like Instagram and all those other sites and just digital filters, and actually learning how to do work with your hands and actually in the darkroom with precision and expertise and care. That's the one thing.
Well,
people need to start
some excellent
caring.
advice here. I'll take that to heart as well too. I'm probably one of those selfie guys myself, so some good
man.
advice as well too. Well, thank you. We're out of time here. Thank you for being here. Hopefully, get some more follow-up conversation with you down the road sometime on a different show as well too. But thank you for being here, joining us, Singh. Thank you all for also being here as well too. We'll see you next time on The Future Generation.